everybody, welcome back. It's good to see you. Today we're on lesson 15, I believe it is. Yeah, 15, and we're gonna be talking about the modes. All right, they're not as scary as they look. We're gonna do the theory part, and then we'll go over to the guitar and do the application part of it. Okay, so let's get started. The modes, you've heard of them: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Lydian, Aeolian, Locrian. I'm sure you've been jamming with somebody and they've brought up Lydian or Dorian mode, or in your travels, I'm sure you've come across that. You might not understand it though. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it a little easier to understand. All right, so let's get started. The first thing I had showed you guys was the major scale and how a major scale is built with your 7 notes. And then the minor scale and how that was based off the major with a flattened third, a flattened sixth, and a flattened seventh. So you had your major scale and your minor scale. Modes are just scales with different intervals between notes, okay? And how I like to think of them, you see my Roman numerals over here. You got the uppercase, which are the major quality modes, and the smaller case, which are the minor quality modes. So an Ionian is a major quality, Lydian, Mixed Lydian are also major quality modes. That means they have a major sound, they have a major third in them. And Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian have a minor third, that minor quality, because of the third, with some other notes changed. All right, so let's kind of get into the difference. And what I want to do is, you already know your major scale and you know your natural minor because it's the same patterns as the major, just shifted 3 frets, okay? You just slide everything up 3 frets and then you have the minor version, which we talked about in the guitar. Modes are no different, all right? So since you already know your major scale, you already know the Ionian mode. They are the exact same notes. If we're in the key of G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, the Ionian mode is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. They're the exact same notes. All right? Key of C, same way. Ionian mode is the major scale. It's just called that. The Aeolian is the minor scale. Same exact notes. If you were playing A minor, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that'd be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Aeolian, minor scale, natural minor. Let me make a note here. Natural, not harmonic or melodic. Those are different. The natural minor scale is the Aeolian mode. Okay? So on guitar, if you know how to play the major scale patterns, you know the minor scale because they're the same patterns, just shifted. You know Ionian, you know Aeolian. You know the rest of these actually because they are just shifted as well. All right, so let me explain here. We're going to start with the major quality modes. Your major scale is the Ionian, Lydian, and Mixed Lydian. Those are your other 2 modes that are major qualities. Reason being is, let's write it out here. Lydian, you got 1. What the Lydian mode is, it's the major scale with a sharpened 4th. So the 4th would be sharpened. That's the only difference. If this was a G major scale, that C note would be a C sharp. That's the only difference. If it was a C major scale, the F would be an F sharp. The 4th note of the scale is sharpened. That's it. But you have a major third quality, so it's a major sounding scale. It's a happier sound. It sounds a little happier than major because of that interval between the 3rd and the 4th. It's a whole step. Your Mixed Lydian is also a major quality mode. It's exactly like the major scale, except for the 7th is flattened. You still have your major third, but you flatten the 7th down. So that gives you, that's where the dominant chord comes from. Like if you're playing a C7, you're actually, the C dominant 7, you're adding a flattened 7th in. You're adding that B flat note. That's a mix. You could play the Mixed Lydian mode over a C7, C Mixed Lydian mode, and it's going to give you that feel, the Fish feel. Like if you listen to Fish, Trey Anastasio likes Mixed Lydian a lot, so that's that kind of feel. You'll hear in Grateful Dead and Fish, blues jam kind of stuff. That flattened 7th is bluesy. All right. And then you're, like I said, that's the 3 modes that have a major quality. Like I said, it's just like the major scale, except you're sharpening the 4th, and then you're flattening the 7th for the Mixed Lydian. It's the only difference. Now let's go to the minor ones. Dorian. Dorian is the minor scale. I'll show you with one difference. Most of these just have, except for Locrian, have just one change to the scale. All right, so Dorian, your minor scale, it's a minor quality mode, so you have a flattened third, so you know it's at minor quality, and you also have a flattened seventh. The Dorian, however, does not flatten the sixth. It's a minor scale with a raised up sixth. It's sharpened. So comparative to the major scale, you have a flat third, a flat seventh, but the sixth isn't flattened, so that's what makes it a Dorian mode. If you're playing like an A minor and a D major chord progression back and forth, Dorian sounds great, like an A Dorian, because that D has the F sharp in it, which that would be in that key of A. That F sharp, the sixth, the F would be sharpened. So like an A minor, D major progression back and forth looped, A Dorian fits nicely over it. Okay, Phrygian. Let's write this one out. And then what we're going to do is go to the guitar and just kind of like show the application of this. But this is just the theory and how these are built. And I'm going to show you a trick here in a minute. So Phrygian is also a minor quality. So it's going to have that flattened third. Has a flattened sixth, just like the natural minor scale, and a flattened seventh. The one difference is the second is also flattened. This is what gives you that kind of like Latin sound. If you were to play like a B Phrygian over like a B minor 7, really cool sounding with that flat second. That gives you a Latin sound. All right, good examples. Carlos Santana, you'll hear a lot of that in there. It's very, to me, very Latin. Other people might sound a little different, but that's the quality of it. But it's played over a minor chord, and that's, before I get to Locrian, that's what the modes are. They're a scale that's played over certain chord progressions to bring out certain flavors. If you just got an A minor chord, you can play if it's just an A minor chord, kind of repetitive, you can use an A Dorian, an A Phrygian, and A Aeolian, which is the natural minor, and any three of those modes are going to sound nice over it. It's when you start adding more chords to it, that's when more notes are being added. That's when you have to kind of get selective about what you're playing. Okay. And Locrian is another minor quality, but it's a diminished, so I'll explain that. All right, so just like the minor scale, to give it the minor quality, you got a flattened third, flattened sixth, and flattened seventh. But what it does is it adds the flattened second in as well, and this is the one mode that has two things change. It adds that in, and then it flattens the fifth, which gives it that diminished quality of a flattened fifth. Gives it a really unstable feeling. Pretty much, it's a minor scale with everything. You got the root and the fourth, the only thing perfect. The rest are all flattened. So it's very, so like the F sharp Locrian, based off the G major scale, would be F sharp, G, A, B, C, which normally in a regular minor would be a C sharp, the D, and the E. It's a very unstable sounding mode. You don't hear it a lot. It is used in some metal. You can base some good power chord progressions off of it with that flattened fifth. Gives it a really unstable, dark sound. Okay, so that's the theory behind the modes. Now I want to show you a quick tip before we go over to the application part. If you already know your major scale patterns, as I showed you, you already know how to play all these patterns. You don't have to learn 5 patterns for all 7 and learn 35 new patterns, okay? If you know your major scale, like I said, you know your natural minor because they're just shifted. Everything, if you know a G major, you know the E minor because it's a relative minor. It's the same exact notes. If you know a C major, you know your A minor natural scale. If you know your D major scale, you already know your B minor natural minor scale. They're the same exact notes. So you can just use those patterns over those. And the same goes for modes. So what I want to kind of do is let's lay out let's do a G, just because that's a very common key for guitar players. Let's do the G major. G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Okay? That's our G major scale. So this here, the Ionian, would be G Ionian, G major, same thing. What's our second note? A. If we were to build and start with the A as our root note and just go like this. A, B, C, D, E. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You would have an A Dorian. All right. As you go through, it would be A, B, C, which normally in the A major, C is a C sharp, it's flattened, so it's just a C, A, B, C, D, E, perfect fourth and fifth. Typically, there'd be an F sharp, but it's actually raised. I'm sorry, typically in an A minor, that would be an F, just like in a key of C. That F would be just an F, but in Dorian, it's an F sharp, just like in G scale. A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G. So let me just kind of write that out. You got A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Because we're writing this G major scale out, starting with the A as the root. We're just going through all these notes, and then G. Typically in an A minor, because it's a minor quality, that would be an F, but it's sharpened, because it's not flattened down. The Phrygian, let's see, our 1, 2, third note is a B. 1, 2, 3, B. B Phrygian would be B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Okay? And all we're doing is just starting here and just laying the notes out in order. And that's your B Phrygian. The Phrygian has the flattened second. Typically in a minor scale or major, the second is a whole step up. It would be B to a C sharp, but we flattened it for Phrygian, so it's a C. Lydian mode, we'll go to our fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have a C note. So we're just doing the scale, G, A, B, C. The C, C, D, E, F, you just lay them out in order. C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And if you're familiar with the C major scale, that's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, no sharps or flats. That fourth that's sharpened is the F sharp. It's actually an F sharp. That's what makes it Lydian, that sharpened fourth. Mixed Lydian, let's see, the fifth one, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the D. So we're going to start the scale with the D note and work our way through. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and then a C. So D, E, F sharp. So far we got a typical major scale. G, A, the B, which is 6. That's all normal. But that seventh is a C instead of a C sharp, which makes it a flattened seventh. It's a mixed Lydian. And then same way, sixth note is the E. We'll write that out. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and D. All right. So your E minor is that typical G major scale. It's just starting on the E. And Locrian, the F sharp is the seventh. So F sharp, G, A, B, and we'll just write them out. G, A, B, C, D, and E. That would be your Locrian notes. And if you notice, every one of these scales is the exact same notes as the G major scale. They're all the same notes, just starting at a different position, starting on A, starting on B, starting on C, D, to give you, E Ionian, D Lydian, A Dorian, and so on. So, if you know your G major scale, you know how to play all these modes. If you want to play D mixed Lydian, that G major scale contains all those notes. You're just going to kind of focus around that flattened sixth, or flattened seventh, the C note. Okay? So a trick that you can do, and this is how my brain works and how I learned it, if I needed to play a D mixed Lydian, someone's doing a D7, they're just kind of riding that out, the bass, the drums, it's a jam band, I'm like, D mixed Lydian. D is the fifth position of the G major. G major scale notes are the D mixed Lydian notes. You can play the G major scale patterns, all 5, 6, 7 that you know, all over that progression, and it's going to sound nice as long as you're kind of focusing around. You want to make sure you hit that D note, the F sharp, your common notes, the D, the third, F sharp, so your root, your third, your fifth, the A note, and then that C note, the flattened seventh, and it'll really bring out those flavors. And you can hit other notes as passing, but that scale will work perfectly over it because it contains all the notes. Same goes for B Phrygian. You want to play a Latin, you kind of feel over a B minor chord or B minor 7. You're like, oh, I want to do Phrygian over this minor chord. Well, we know B is the third position of the G major. Phrygian's the third one. So the third, you can go what's the root major scale? G. Same thing. Over that B Phrygian, you can play that major scale patterns, all those different positions, over that B minor chord progression, and it's going to sound real nice. Okay? You know, make sure you're getting your second in there and stuff. But that's how that works. So an example that's not on here, let's say I want to play A Phrygian. We know Phrygian's a minor quality. You're playing over an A minor and A minor 7. And I want to play that Phrygian thing over it. A is the third of F major. So you can play any of those patterns of F major over that, and it's going to sound great because those are the notes we're looking for. All right, so they're not that scary. You're just playing the major scale or minor scale in a different position. We're just shifting everything. But the patterns stay the same on the guitar, which is nice. So we'll go over and explain that on the applicable side next. So let's go over there and we'll continue on. Okay, so now let's apply these modes and see how they work on the guitar now that I kind of explained what makes each one have a certain major or minor quality, and then what makes it its own unique sound based on the changes to the major and minor scale. Okay, so let's kind of apply these. The Ionian, as it says, the G major, to that position I taught you. Congratulations, you know that? You know the Ionian. Another pattern for it is the that was up at that 7th fret. That's also a G major scale. You can play over that. All right, and of course the yeah. Gotta play this more. I'm used to my electric, but so any of those patterns, that's the G major scale. And there's a few more in there I showed you as well. You know, what I want to show you is how to use those patterns you already know to play your modes. So, for example, if I wanted to play the Ionian, I would just play the G major. If I wanted to play the Dorian, let's say the A Dorian, because that's an easy one. It's based off that G major scale. But the A Dorian, an A minor, I could play a couple options, but let's go with the Dorian. That second pattern of the G major I taught you, it starts here. Those are all the notes in the G major scale. They're also all the notes in A Dorian, as we just went over. And because that starts with that note, that A, that has that F sharp in there. That's an A Dorian mode. That first part of that, that'd be the A Dorian mode. It's kind of a sad sound, but with that 6 that's not flattened, it's kind of a little brighter, happier, sad sound to it. So you can play over the A minor. You can play over the A minor, any of those G major positions, because they carry all the same notes as the A Dorian. B Phrygian, that's also based off the G major scale, that Phrygian Latin kind of sound. The B, as we talked about earlier, is that third position of what major scale? Let's see, that's your B. That would be the third position, the 1, 2, 3 of the G major. So any of those G major patterns will work over that B minor. Or you can do a B minor 7. We'll do the, since we're here, the pattern for the G major scale that we do there. That is the B Phrygian, starting with that note. If you start with that note, work your way through. That's a Phrygian sound, you get that? flat second. So you can do. It's very kind of Spanish Latin sounding. Lydian is the fourth position, so let's say C. C is the fourth note of the G, A, B, C, that fourth note of the G major. So if I want a C Lydian sound over C, what makes the Lydian? It's that sharpened fourth, that F sharp. So if you did a C, that sharpened, that F sharp, that sharpened fourth. Normally a C major is a, but with Lydian it's, you got that sharpened F in there, which gives it a little happier sound. That regular or Lydian, it's that it's a little higher, happier, and that's a Lydian. So in C Lydian you've got the F sharp note in there. So if you're playing C and you go to a D, in the key of C major, D is normally a minor. It has that regular F in it. But we want to do a happy Lydian sound, so we'll do C to a D major. Get that F sharp, you can. It's a nice happy sound. All right, so that's the thing to remember is if you want to play a C Lydian, C is the fourth position of the G major scale. Any of those patterns work over nicely. So you don't have to learn all new patterns. I mean, you can. I know the major scales. We'll use G for example, but G major. Let's go to G Lydian, the next major quality mode. We're just sharpening that fourth. Mixed Lydian has a flattened seventh. And then we can do the minor, the Aeolian. And then if I wanted to do the Dorian, I'm just changing up, so I had that raise 6. Phrygian, G Phrygian would be. So I know how to play them in just their own little box if I want to, but I know I can play any of those major scale patterns over those chords to bring out those flavorful notes, to bring out those modes per se. So, like I said, we were going over kind of like the key of G, but if I wanted to play, an E Phrygian or the E minor, like find an E note. So to play E Phrygian, Phrygian is the third position as you go down through. So E, what's that the third of? C sharp major. So I can play in the C sharp major patterns to get an E over an E chord to get that E Phrygian sound. And that's what really I need to drive home is just playing those notes doesn't make it Dorian or Phrygian or Lydian. It's when you play those notes over a certain chord, when you start to create harmonies. Chords are triads, 3 notes, some are 7 note, or 4 notes if you have a 7th in there. If you had a 9th and stuff, you can start making them bigger, but those chords, those notes all harmonize together when you play like a C. The C, E, and G are harmonizing to make that chord and give it its feel. And then depending on which notes I play over, if I just play a C note like soloing, I'm playing the root. If I'm playing the E, I'm playing its third. And if I'm playing a G, I'm playing the 5th. So when I start adding extra notes to that soloing, besides those 3, I'm adding different flavors. And that's what the modes are doing. They're bringing out different, it's again, the spice to a recipe. They're just giving it different characteristics, the way those notes harmonize with the undernotes, the undertones from those chords. All right, so hopefully it's not too complicated. Once I clicked and realized, I know the major scale patterns, 5 of them. There's more obvious. There's tons of different ways to play them, but I know the 5 primary major scale patterns. I then realized, well, I know all the natural minor scales because if I know all my G major patterns, I can play all the E minor patterns. They're the exact same ones. So that's its relative minors: C major, A minor, D major, B minor, and so on. Excuse me. So those patterns are versatile over either or. You just know where to play them. Same goes with the modes, like I said. A Dorian is the G major. B Phrygian is the G major. E Phrygian would be a C sharp major. You just have to find out where you're going from. So if you want to play a Dorian, like a B Dorian, B, we know Dorian's the second position. B is the second position of A major, so I can play any of the A major quality over a B. That sounds happy, but when I play it over, that Dorian is a little bit of a happier minor quality. So that's my lesson on the modes. Like I said, the theory part, how to apply it, and it's a lot to take in. It's intimidating, but eventually it'll start to click, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, yeah, this makes sense. So just keep working at it, keep watching the first part, how the modes are built, and then you can start understanding that they're just different starting points of that major scale over certain chords to give it certain qualities. So that's the best way I can describe it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.